to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Wednesdays wherever you may be across this great land. We got several things to hit here until I got to hop and go do Lock It in about 45 minutes on FS1. Things I'm going to hit. Colin Kaepernick, he's got a workout at 32 years old. What's going to happen there? Chase Young. The suspension will be over after the Rutgers game. Kentucky loses to Evansville. And Disney Plus hits 10 million subscribers in day one. What does that tell us about the universe of streaming and sports media? And I have got the college football gambling picks. All right, a lot to get to, but I want to start with Colin Kaepernick, and I want to start with this theory. Theory number one. The reason why this workout is happening, a lot of people are saying, why is the workout happening? Why is it happening now? Here is my theory. Colin Kaepernick settled his grievance for collusion in, I believe, February of this year. I believe his counsel or someone who represents him has reached out to the NFL and said, no one is signing us still. We haven't even gotten a single workout. We are contemplating filing a new collusion lawsuit on behalf of Colin Kaepernick, saying that you're still colluding against us since February, that all teams have agreed not to sign Colin Kaepernick, which is in contravention to what you agreed to in our initial settlement. And so, as a result, the NFL effectively called the bluff of Colin Kaepernick's attorneys and said, okay, we're going to have an open tryout for you on Saturday in Atlanta. Every team is welcome to come in and watch. Boom, this is how it's going to take place. Now, the reality is, I don't think anybody's going to sign Colin Kaepernick, but I think that's how this went down. People say, why did the NFL decide to do it now? Why in November, as the season is coming close to an end? All the NFL can do as an organization is say, hey, Colin Kaepernick's available. Anybody who wants to work him out or we'll interview him. We will provide a central location and we will allow it to take place. That's how I believe that this is taking place. It's a great defense in the event that they're getting threatened with another collusion lawsuit. There's nothing more welcoming the NFL can do than say, hey, dude, we set up a special, unprecedented workout for you in order to allow everybody to come watch you and see whether or not they might be willing to sign you. Here is the larger issue. I think that's what's going on. I haven't heard anybody else in the media say it. That, to me, is why it's occurring right now in this situation, okay? Larger context. This is about Colin Kaepernick sliding in alongside of a lot of other quarterbacks that will be free agents in the offseason to see if there's any teams that are interested in him. Think about all the free agent quarterbacks that theoretically are going to be out there. You've got maybe Phillip Rivers, Teddy Bridgewater, Eli Manning, Cam Newton, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, all at least that's 6 quarterbacks that have started games in this season that theoretically are going to be free agents. Maybe Jameis Winston as well. Who knows what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do. 7 quarterbacks that I just named. You toss Colin Kaepernick into that mix, Andy Dalton into that mix. There's a lot of guys out there that are 8 or 9 of them, if you want to put Kaepernick into that mix, that have proven that they can start games but haven't been good enough in order to stay under contract. Some of those guys will get grabbed, some of them will not. So, the next question you have is, how many are there that are interested in getting a new quarterback to potentially start? I think you take the Dolphins and the Bengals out of the equation off the front and say they're likely to end up with Joe Burrow and with Tua. Maybe one of them will like Justin Herbert. Maybe the Chargers will do that. At least 3 quarterbacks will go in the first round. There's no way any of those teams are bringing in Colin Kaepernick. So who does that leave that might be interested purely from a football perspective? I'm not talking about the protest. I'm not talking about anything else. Who does that leave that might be interested in signing Kaepernick? The Carolina Panthers, who I would make the favorite, especially if they get rid of Cam Newton, because they've got right now Kyle Allen and they've got Will Grier. I'm not sure they believe in either of those guys. They could theoretically have and open competition. The Chicago Bears may well want to move on from Mitch Trubisky. The Chargers may be moving on from Phillip Rivers. The Titans and the Buccaneers seem like they're likely to be in the quarterback market in some form or fashion. Maybe the Denver Broncos, although with the money they gave, they don't have a lot of dollars that they could spend. That is, in general, what I would say is the larger context of all of these quarterbacks. The other thing you have to think about is who runs a system that is most likely to be able to use Colin Kaepernick's talents. The answer is probably the Baltimore Ravens. Now, maybe, possibly, there is a way that they could bring him in, but remember, Kaepernick called the owner, his girlfriend did, a slave owner, and also called Ray Lewis and Uncle Tom. That doesn't necessarily help in any way. So I just don't think there's a very big market right now for Colin Kaepernick, but I think that's why the tryout is going on. Keep in mind, he is a 32-year-old quarterback who will turn 33 next year. When he is 33 years old, how much of a market is there for 33-year-old quarterbacks in general in this league? Typically not that much, okay? Could he be a backup? Maybe. The challenge for Kaepernick becomes if he gets signed as a backup, then effectively he's done, right? Unless his starting quarterback gets hurt, all of his attention, all of the media, everything else, he just becomes one of like 65 guys, and none of them are that interested at all in him, right? So I don't know. I don't know if anybody's interested in him or not. Again, 32-year-old quarterback who hasn't played in 3 years, wasn't very good when he played the last several years, got beaten out by Blaine Gabbert, mobile quarterback who's aging. I don't think there's that much interest in him. Could I be wrong? Certainly. You're open to sign anybody you want, leaving aside all the negativity associated with him. Now, you guys may tell me if I'm wrong. I think there's only one player still protesting. Maybe two in the entire NFL. How many people are not standing for the national anthem? Eric Reed with the Panthers? Is there any other player in the entire NFL who's still protesting? Is Kenny Stills protesting with the Houston Texans? Michael Bennett stopped his protest when he went to go work, whatever he was protesting, when he went to work for the Dallas Cowboys. The point here is it's bad business, I believe, but also that, frankly, Colin Kaepernick's just not that good. And so, as a result, I think he's kind of just washed up quarterback. Not a lot left with him, not a lot of interest, not a lot of talent, not a lot of teams that want to bring him in. So I think he's basically done. I think he is effectively done, and that's the truth. And also, I think this is important. I actually kind of hope he gets a backup job. Because the minute he gets a backup job, he's not a martyr anymore. He's totally irrelevant in the larger universe the minute he gets a job. The minute he's standing on the sideline, not playing, he's finished. Like, for the rest of his career, people aren't going to be able to say, oh my God, this guy was a martyr for social justice. He will vanish into the ether. So I actually think, interestingly, the best way to cancel Colin Kaepernick's influence is to employ him. If you're not a starting quarterback in this league and you're not good enough to be a starting quarterback in this league, you're already pretty irrelevant. And that's true for like half the starting quarterbacks who aren't good enough. This is just the truth. So that's what I would say about Kaepernick, and that's what I think is going on with this story. All right, Chase Young. Suspension is over for Chase Young effectively. He got to sit out against Maryland. He got to sit out against Rutgers. He got to rest, and now he's going to come back against Penn State, and he's going to come back against Michigan and play in the Big Ten title game in theory and play in the college football playoff if Ohio State is able to get there. Now, I think it is actually fascinating because it's amazing to me how guys never get suspended for the big games. You ever notice this? Ohio State miraculously finds out that their star player is potentially ineligible and decides to sit him for 2 games that they don't need him for at all against 2 of the worst teams in the entirety of the Big Ten, right? Oh, wow, amazing. Suddenly, Chase Young is found out to have violated NCAA rules when they're about to play Maryland and Rutgers, and the suspension miraculously only impacts Maryland and Rutgers. Now, I'm not an NCAA defender in the context of most NCAA rules, right? If you watch this show, if you listen to it for years, you know that I am of the opinion that by and large, this is a totally ridiculous set of rules. But it's also ridiculous the way they actually get applied. The Big Ten and Ohio State and the NCAA were in on the fix, and they allowed for the sit-down to occur for 2 games that were not going to have any kind of impact on Ohio State at all. And as a result, he's then back for the end part of the season. This is not coincidental. This was a worked-for agreement between everybody, all right? And so I think the long-term impact of this is virtually zero for Ohio State, for Chase Young, and for the Big Ten at large. Now, some people are like, oh, this is going to cost him a Heisman Trophy. He's not going to win the Heisman Trophy. Dude, he was not going to win the Heisman Trophy. Joe Burrow, Tua, even on his own team, Justin Fields, he was never going to win the Heisman Trophy. Stop with that ridiculousness. That was a media creation that meant absolutely nothing. Now, what I will say about this is interesting to me is this is the exact opposite of what Memphis has done with James Wiseman. Memphis made the decision, instead of working with the NCAA and trying to solve issues that didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, in games that didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, Memphis decided to stick their thumb right in the NCAA's eye and file a lawsuit over James Wiseman's eligibility. This is typically not very smart because they could have worked this out, set him out for 7 or 8 games, brought him back to play for the rest of the year, and there wouldn't be any concerns at all. As is, this could get messy for Memphis. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but the reason why you typically don't file a lawsuit in situations such as these is you don't want your coach to have to testify under oath. The NCAA can't do anything to a coach who lies except fire him over the lie, i.e. Bruce Pearl. But once you testify under oath, if you are proven to be lying, then you could have criminal liability over and above whether or not you're able to coach basketball. So to me, the crazy thing about this from Memphis's perspective is by filing a lawsuit, they have elevated the dispute to a higher level than it already was. I think behind the scenes, you could have worked this out, ended up suspending him for 7, 8, or 9 games like the precedent is. He sits out at games in November and December that nobody cares about. He's back by January, and he's playing in games that he actually cares about. This, to me, is a really risky strategy, and Ohio State was actually smarter than what has gone on so far at Memphis. All right, Kentucky loses to Louisville. Sorry, not Louisville. Kentucky loses to Evansville. I'm so used to saying Louisville because that's a rival who at least they lose to. They lost to Evansville. I got a couple of stats for you here that are flat out crazy off the top here. All right? I want to hit you with this. Evansville's win at Kentucky on Tuesday night was the first win by a mid-major in a road environment against a number 1 team since 1993. All right, I want to repeat that. That was, by the way, Long Beach State at Kansas. First time that a mid-major won in a road environment against a number 1 team since 1993. Kentucky was nearly a 25-point favorite in this game. And since 2005, John Calipari is a favorite of 20 or more points. His team was 109-0 straight up as a 20-plus point favorite in games. Calipari doesn't have a top 10 pick, in theory, anywhere on their roster. And so this by itself is pretty crazy when you talk about this, the magnitude of this win. Congratulations to the Purple Aces. Congratulations to Walter McCarty. Congratulations to everyone in Evansville on the biggest basketball win by far of their career. And this is an ominous side for Kentucky. I know. It's just right now November, but to lose this game does not bode well for Kentucky as they go forward and what might be the least top-end talented team that John Calipari has ever had at Kentucky. And so that doesn't bode well since John Calipari, more than anything else, is a guy who typically doesn't live up to the talent on his roster. Okay, tap the veins, boys and girls. I'm headed down to the Florida Keys tomorrow early. I'm not sure that I'll be able to do a show tomorrow, especially if there's not big stories. I'm not sure if I'll be around Friday either because I'm going to be hanging out. I am conducting the marriage ceremony. I am already married. I am conducting a marriage ceremony for the former editor of Outkick, Lori Kelly, who worked with me for a long time. She is getting married to her longtime boyfriend in the Florida Keys. Your boy here is going to be conducting the ceremony. I don't know, 200, 250 people will be there down in the Florida Keys. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I won't be around for Friday's show or Thursday's Lock It In. I'll do the radio show tomorrow, and then I'm flying down to the Keys. Should be a lot of fun. All right, yeah, SBAP, sometimes be a pastor. That's well played. But I want to give you my gambling picks. I got 13 of them. We've been on a roll the past couple of weeks. We've moved into positive territory. The Blood Bank Guarantee has been on fire. I appreciate all of you who've been respecting the picks, even as many people out there are continuing to take shots at the picks. Here we go. I got Indiana plus 14.5 against Penn State. Too big of a number. Trap game, even coming off a loss. Indiana, pretty good. 6-2 on the year. But as every Indiana fan knows, you lose every game that matters, especially where you threaten to pull off the upset. I got Ohio State by over 50 points. I got Ohio State. Yes, I am taking Ohio State by over 50 points. Sorry, Indiana's 7-2. Don't want to shortchange the Hoosiers. I've got Iowa beating Minnesota. Row the boat. Ain't going to go into the cornfields. It's going to end in the undefeated season in Kinnick Stadium down in Iowa. I got UCLA plus 21 against Utah. A&M minus 10. It's now out to 11 against South Carolina. Georgia, Auburn, I love the under. And if you want to jump on a team and you want to play one side or the other, I like Auburn on the money line here. I think Auburn is going to win out in this game. Oklahoma, Baylor, I've got Baylor plus 10 and the over. Memphis, Houston, I've got the over, 69, nice. I've got Florida minus 8, minus 7-ish at Mizzou. Alabama, Mississippi State, the under. It wouldn't stun me if Tua plays a limited number of snaps in this game. LSU, Ole Miss, the over. And tap the veins, boys and girls. Tap the veins. The Blood Bank Guarantee this week is the under on Kentucky at Vanderbilt. I think this is going to be like a 13-10, 17-13, 13-10. What did I say? Low scoring game. Neither offense is going to have any success. I love the under. It is free money. The Blood Bank Guarantee of the week. The Blood Bank Guarantee has been on fire. I love all of you. I'm off to do Lock It In, and then soon I'll be down in the Keys doing a wedding. SBAP indeed. Sometimes be a pastor. DBAP, boys and girls. Kisses to all of you. I am Clay Travis, and this has been Outkick the Show. Love you. Thank you, Facebook.